I'm Jeff Rader, President of Northwest REC Board. With the recent COVID-19 outbreak situation, to protect the health and safety of our members and employees, the board has made the decision to move our annual meeting to a location at our Lamarge Service Center and to restrict the attendance to the nominating and inspectors of election committee, a few directors and staff. This will be the official annual meeting of the cooperative for the 2020 year and enable us to meet our articles and bylaws requirements to complete the director of election and amendment to the articles of incorporation voting process. We are recording the meeting and we'll be putting this on our website to give all of our members the opportunity to view it. We are disappointed that we weren't able to have our typical annual meetings at our district meetings this spring. We view these as our best member engagement opportunities. However, I'm pleased to report the board has decided to have member appreciation events in all 4 districts this fall. We'll have a nice meal, entertainment, and activities for the whole family. We'll announce the meeting dates and final plans in the upcoming days. At this time, I'll call the annual meeting of Northwest REC to order and invite Shirley Benson, the Secretary of the Board, to come forward and give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Shirley?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day in which we are privileged to live in the victory of your Son, Jesus Christ. Thank you for the abundance of your grace through your word. For the sake of Jesus, forgive us for those times today when we fail to live as your faithful children, and enable us to serve you as we guide Northwest REC in the right direction. Bless Northwest REC employees and members, as well as keep us safe from the COVID-19 virus. Thank you for the opportunities you gave to us to touch the lives of others through Operation Roundup and the revolving loan program. And give us humble hearts and willing hands to carry out Northwest REC's responsibilities to our employees and membership. We thank you for providing wisdom to those who have established our nation. Grant us wise and unselfish leaders and faithful citizens during this challenging time. Enable our doctors, nurses, and medical staff to depend on your wisdom and power in this hour of danger. Restore a new life within us so that we may faithfully serve your Northwest REC membership. Grant us the peace of your forgiveness and the comfort of your presence so that we may live in your trust. Hear us for Jesus' sake. Amen. Everyone join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, I certify that a notice of the annual meeting to be held on April 2nd, 2020 was mailed to each member of the cooperative at his or her address, as it appears in the records of the REC Cooperative on March 12, 2020. I further certify that a quorum has been established with over 10% of the members returning a mail ballot, and that corporate business in the name of Northwest Rural Electric Cooperative can now be transacted. Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of this report and request that it be filed with the records of this annual meeting.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this time, I'll declare the voting of District 3 Director position and the amendment to the Articles of Incorporation is closed. The nominating committee met in January, and Greg Gripke was selected as chairman. Greg, could you please come forward and present the nominating committee report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Nominations, consisting of 4 members, being the Committee on Nominations of the Northwest Rural Electric Cooperative, appointed by the Board of Directors in said cooperative, duly assembled and met on January 23rd, 2020, with the following name present: Dennis Baldwin, Greg Gripke, Patricia Schultz, Adam Schmidt, by phone. Greg Ripke was chosen as chairman of the committee, and Pat Schultz was chosen as secretary, and the committee thereupon was declared open for business and duly organized. That it was moved, seconded, and unanimously carried that the following be placed in nomination for election to the board of directors of the cooperative, to be voted on and elected at the annual meeting of the cooperative, to be held on the second day of April 2020. To wit, District 3, 1 Scott Firehelm and Shirley Schrader, excuse me, were nominated. Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of this report.
Motion on the floor, is there a second? Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Shirley?
The minutes of the annual meeting held on March 26, 2019 were included in the annual meeting mailing that was mailed to all members. Mr. Chairman, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes and approve their adoption.
Motion on the floor to suspend the minutes, is there support? All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this time, we'll move on to the report of the membership. I'll ask Lyle Korver will share an abbreviated report with myself. Turn it over to Lyle.
Thanks, Jeff. I've been participating in these REC meetings, annual meetings, for over 40 years, and I believe this definitely looks like a record low attendance. In all seriousness, though, we are really disappointed that we weren't able to have our regular meeting, that we had to limit attendance this year, and we hope and pray that next year we'll be able to have our normal meetings and have the great turnout and support from our members that we always have. We will look forward to seeing our members this fall at our member appreciation events. Those are always great opportunities. I'm going to touch on the 2019 operations. Jeff is going to give a governance update on the Articles of Incorporation vote. We're going to give a little COVID-19 update, and then a quick financial report. The three things I'm going to touch on are three highest priority areas: safety, reliability, and affordability. Safety is our highest priority. We talk about that all the time with our employees, with our members, the general public. And I'm pleased to report that our employees have worked over 300,000 hours since our last lost time accident, which was back in 2016. They're doing a great job of working safely and really working to enhance our culture of safety. The other second priority item I want to talk about is service reliability. We had a good year, but not one of our best years, and that really kind of goes back to the March flooding situation and then the April ice storm. As the lights flickered here a little bit earlier and the weather conditions tonight, I'm a little bit worried about what things might shape up for us. Hopefully we can avoid that type of situation later this evening. But what we had last spring did increase our average outage minutes. You can see from this graph, we were at 124 minutes, about 2 hours of average outage minute time per customer. You can look back to 2010, where we had our last really serious ice storm. And most years were somewhere in the 60 minutes to 90 minutes. So the 124 minutes was definitely higher than normal. Last year, from that flooding and ice storm situation, we did have 74 broken poles. And you can see we had some transmission, our power supplier had some transmission issues. I'm sure time flies, but I'm sure most of you can remember what the situation was like last spring. But even with that, we still had a 99.98% reliability factor for our members, which we're proud of. As we look at service reliability, one of the things our board took a look at with our recent strategic planning is the age of our system and where we can make some improvements. And so they have developed a plan to accelerate the rebuilding of the cooperative's original electric distribution plant. We've been making upgrades for years and years, but we still have some of the old line out there, longer span lengths that cause us some issues with ice storms. We want to get more of our line underground for safety and for ice situations. So in the past, we've replaced about 40 miles per year. We're going to double that, and we're shooting for 80 miles this year and in the years going forward. We'll do some of that with our own crews, our own underground plow. This year we are bringing in 2 contractors to also plow in some underground so we can accelerate that pace. To give you an idea of the kind of money that takes, we have budgeted $5.5 million this year for those upgrades. There's also some new transformers, other system improvements, but it is a significant investment to make sure that we continue to provide reliable service for our members. The third area I wanted to talk about was affordability. We always talk about trying to keep our rates as low as possible for our members. And one of the ways that we can do that is through efficiencies, and we've done that with our consolidation and some of those areas. Another area is through growth. And so by adding new services, by getting involved with economic development and adding sales, we can spread our fixed costs over more kilowatt hours, and that's beneficial for keeping our rates stable. This past year, we did have some nice growth with new services. We added 122 new services, housing, some hog buildings, small commercial, some other new services, and then we had 77 service upgrades. So between the new services and service upgrades, about 200 services that had added load to them. So another busy year for our crews. You can see this is a trend of our new services that we've had. We're now up over 10,000 services, and that's nice growth for the cooperative. We've had pretty dramatic growth in our kilowatt hour sales in the last 20 years. They've increased more than 200% with our economic development efforts, with the value-added ag that we have, and now the new housing that we're starting to get. We did drop just a little bit this past year. Our sales were down 1.5%. We had a mild winter, and we did have a couple of ethanol plants that idled for a few weeks. That impacted our sales, but we still had our second highest all-time sales level of almost 700 million kilowatt hours. In the last 20 years, we've only had 2 years where sales have declined a little bit. Regarding sales, we are preparing ourselves for further reduction in sales this year. We serve 4 ethanol plants, and all 4 of those are idling right now. Market conditions are not good, as you probably know, and so that will have a big impact on our April sales in the second quarter. But we will work through that. We're well positioned to deal with that, and the board has committed to keeping rates stable again this year. This will be 5 years in a row that we haven't had any rate adjustments. And out of the 800 RECs in the United States, our rates are in the lowest 4% nationally. So we are very competitive. We've been stable for 5 years here, and we think we can continue that for several years to come. Jeff?
Going to do a little review of our governance update. Our board's made up of 11 directors from 4 districts. As you can see from the picture, Ida and O'Brien only have 2 directors, and Plymouth and Sioux have more. The reason that is when the consolidation took place, they looked at the number of meters to be represented by directors, and Plymouth and Sioux had more meters, and so that's the reason why there's a little more representation from those 2 counties. At the time of the consolidation, Sioux and O'Brien did not have term limits. Plymouth and Ida did. As a consensus, they came up with a 15-year initial plan of term limits, 5 3-year terms. In 2013, by an 80% vote, they were increased to 5 4-year terms to a 20-year term limit. At this time, the board has proposed an amendment to the Articles of Incorporation that would eliminate term limits completely. We're going to provide a little explanation why we think this has been proposed. We are one of the only RECs in the country and the only one at the NIPCO system that has term limits. There are a few in the other state of Iowa, but very few. By having term limits, we feel our cooperative is potentially at a disadvantage. It's harder to get on associate boards when the other directors know that you could be termed out shortly. We've seen the benefits of having a couple of our directors represented on associate boards. For example, Tom Wagner's on the Basin board right now, as long as the NIPCO board. And it's pretty valuable information for the board to have that first-hand knowledge at a board meeting and to find out what's actually going on at our parent company. Nominating committee was also having a difficult time finding new people interested in running for the board. It is a pretty good commitment, and it's hard to find good people. And if we have people willing to serve, we didn't think a year was, a certain term limit should deter them from running again if they're still interested. Why we considered this when our average director service has been 7 years. We're trying to plan ahead for the future. Like I said, when you have some young people that get on board early and they're willing to serve and they're doing a good job, we don't think a year limit should be there. And so that's why we're going ahead with this vote to eliminate term limits completely. A straw poll was conducted last year at our 4 district meetings. This was a suggestion given to us by the nominating committee last year to get some input from the membership. It was very valuable information from the board to consider what changes we should make at this annual meeting today. The results of those straw polls, as you can see, less than 25% of the membership felt we should have no change. And almost 40% agreed with eliminating term limits completely, and the other ones were somewhere in the middle. As a result, the board made the decision to go ahead and eliminate term limits altogether, and we'll find out the results shortly, how the membership voted on this vote. We thank all the membership for turning in their ballots and participating in this valuable vote for the membership. Lyle?
With everything that's going on in recent weeks, we thought it would be helpful to give you an update on our steps that we've taken relative to the COVID-19 situation. We know that this is challenging a lot of people, and we just wanted to visit a little bit about that. For the health and safety of our members and employees, we've taken the following steps. Number one, we canceled our district meetings. We sent out a postcard to all of our members a few weeks ago when we saw how this was starting to develop and they were limiting the number of people that should be at a gathering. So we did do that. We locked our offices to access by the employees only. We're encouraging members to use various payment options, which we have. All 4 of our locations have a drop box. You can use mail. We have online payment options. We're also able to take phone calls from our members with any billing, outage, or other customer service calls, so please don't hesitate to call us. We'll answer the phone. We are staggering our work schedules, so we have some of our office employees working from home, others at the office, but we have laptops, we have good technology, and we're able to handle that. We've been doing that now for, I think, the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've also staggered some work schedules with our line crews to make sure that we maintain good social distancing. Our member service employees started taking their pickups home. They're not coming into the shops. They're just leaving from home to read meters, to call members, doing all that, working out of their pickups to, again, maintain that social distancing. We've really stressed to our employees, if they're not feeling well, stay home. We tried something new last Thursday. We had our first board meeting by video conference using Zoom technology. It worked quite well, and so I'm guessing we'll be looking at doing that again this next month. And we've taken many other steps that basically following the guidance of our president and governor. They're having daily press briefings. We're learning something new every day, and we're taking our lead from them. We want to assure our members that your cooperative plans and prepares for disaster and emergency situations such as this. And we do have a process in place to ensure that we can continue to provide reliable and safe power for our members. Now Jeff is going to share some information in terms of some board action that was taken relative to COVID-19 to try to help out our members. Oh, I did want to thank the employees.
At this time, I'd like to thank the employees for another great year of working together for the membership. For those of us here, let's give them a round of applause. We have a very dedicated work crew and a very dedicated board. We thank all the time they put in for the cooperative and for the membership. At our last board meeting, we approved a $1.6 million patronage retirement. This normally takes place in December, but the board made a decision to move this up to May to help with the bills of everyone that's basically struggling with being unemployed and underemployed while this COVID-19 takes place. It will be one of our largest ever. The bill credit will be on our May 2nd bills. It'll be based on a last in, first out method instead of our normal first in, first out. The reason we decided that this way, all our current members will get some benefit that are on our line today. The allocation for our 2019 and 20% of the 2018 allocation will be paid off. It will come in your, be deducted from your main bill. The board felt this was one way we could provide some assistance to our members as quick as possible. A few other steps that we've been to help our membership facing this hard time is temporary suspended all disconnects for non-payment. We've waived the deposits and late fees for late payments, and we're providing payment plans as needed. And we're trying to make every opportunity to work with customers experiencing financial difficulties. Lyle, I'll turn it back to you.
I'd like to finish up this report with a brief financial update. You should have all received the annual report mailing, and in that were our financials for this past year. We did have $54.6 million of total revenues. Our total cost of service was $53.5 million. 80% of that was what we pay for our wholesale purchase power costs. The other 20% is for our depreciation and interest and salaries and maintenance expenses and those kinds of things. But 80% goes for purchase power expenses. Our operating margins were $1.1 million. Non-operating margins, $2.4 million. So we had $3.5 million of margins. A very, very good year. However, it was down from our record year the previous year, and I want to explain the reason for that. As I mentioned earlier, our kilowatt hour sales were down just a little bit, 1.5%. Our average cost per kilowatt hour purchased from our power supplier was higher because our annual load factor was lower. What that means is, even though I explained we had kind of a mild year and some of our sales were down during the cold months, we still had a few cold days that created a high peak demand. So demand costs are 50% of our total costs. So when that creates a high demand and there's not a lot of kilowatt hours that we sell throughout the month, that's a lower monthly load factor, and that leads to a higher average cost per kilowatt hour purchase. So we did face that. I mentioned the March and April storm situations, so we had higher maintenance expenses. And then in 2018, we had an unusually large assignment from NIPCO. They had received a big one from Basin, as Basin was working through some Dakota gasification restructuring issues, and it resulted in a high paper assignment that year, and we didn't receive as high an assignment this past year. This slide shows the orange bar. Our assets are now over $100 million, $109 million. It's been nice, steady increasing. The blue bar is our long-term debt. That's also been increasing, but at a much slower pace. And so we're able to generate, pay for some of our improvements out of our cash flow that's generated from our rates, and then borrow some of it. We're not having to borrow all of it. So we're at a very healthy, almost 50% net worth or equity level at the cooperative, very strong. We're pleased to report that your cooperative continues to be in a very strong financial position. Jeff?
Scholarship drawings were completed and students have been notified. Names will be published in next month's newsletter. The board's pleased to report that we gave over $27,000 in scholarships to 63 graduating high school students this year. I want to congratulate all the students. They're very well deserved, and we miss them from not having the meeting, but we're trying to do what we can with this COVID situation. They'll be receiving their checks in the mail. This completes our report to the membership. We'd like to thank everyone for your loyal support. Our commitment to memberships remains strong as ever, so stay safe and healthy. At this time, we'll move on to our final order of business this evening, the Inspectors of Election report. Ask Greg Ripke to come back as the chair and invite him to come forward to present the last report.
Thank you, Jeff. We, the undersigned and duly appointed inspectors of election at the annual meeting of Northwest Rural Electric Cooperative, held this second day of April 2020, do hereby certify that the election of directors was fairly and impartially conducted, that we received the votes of the members by ballot and counted the votes cast, that the following members received the number of votes set opposite their respective names here. We further certify that the following persons have been duly elected as a director for a 4-year term. Scott Firehelm was elected. Secondly, we do hereby certify that the vote on an amendment to the Articles of Incorporation was fairly and impartially conducted, that we received the votes of the members by ballot and counted the votes cast, that the following number of votes set opposite the yes or no were received. Number of votes received for yes was 801, or 73% of the votes collected. Number of votes for no was 291, or 26% of those collected. We further certify that the amendments to the Articles of the Corporation pass by a vote of 801 to 291. Thank you.
This time I entertain a motion to approve the report as presented. Motion is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I'd also like to thank Shirley Schrader for being willing to serve, and appreciate that. Is there any other business that needs to be considered before we adjourn the meeting today? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion adjourned. At this time, the annual meeting of Northwest REC stands adjourned. Stay healthy, and thanks for attending.